So I am so excited about this next panel. I'm a sustainability freak. I don't know if anybody noticed me picking up all your plastic bottles. I was going to go recycle them, but I couldn't find the recycle bin. But if you ever have a meal with me, you'll note I do not take straws. I'm a straw Nazi. I just totally believe no straws. Okay, let's do a hand for no straws. No straw rule over here. So our moderator, Catherine McNeil Kummer, we met at the Green Sports Alliance about a decade ago. Does anybody know what the Green Sports Alliance is? Raise your hand if you do. It is the most awesome summit on greening sports, and Catherine was running NASCAR Green, and that's where we became friends. So immediately when we put this panel together, I'm like, girl, I'm bringing you back. And I'm bringing her back because she's gone on to work for CATS, which is the first sustainability, resiliency, and governmental affairs officer for the Charlotte area transit system. That was a mouthful. She's responsible for the transition to zero carbon sources for fleet and facilities as per the City of Charlotte's Strategic Energy Action Plan, in addition to governmental affairs. She joined the climate change advising the City of Charlotte after spending nearly a decade as a senior director of green innovation for NASCAR. Our next amazing speaker on the panel is Lisa Boggs. And Lisa works tirelessly. Tina came up with that one. So Lisa is the Bridgestone Director of Motorsports since 2013. More than 20 years of motorsports experience in advertising, communications, activation, content development, and crisis management. Previously, she was the VP of Edelman Public Relations, overseeing motorsports, primarily focused on IndyCar and NASCAR. She spent 8 years with Philip Morris on behalf of sponsorship Marlboro Team Penske. No wonder y'all are so close up there. Her work with Philip Morris began during an 11-year stint at Leo Burnett. She has won numerous recognitions, including PR Week Award finalist for the 100th anniversary of the Indy 500, PR Week Award finalist, and a Bronze Addy, Los Angeles, and a Houston PSRA Gold Excalibur Award for the live webcast of Shell's Return to Racing. Speaking of Shell, next to her is Heidi Massey-Bong. And Heidi is relentless. Last year we invited her to speak at the first summit, and she was one of those, no, she gave me a call the day of that her husband had COVID and couldn't show up. But what I loved is Heidi was the first person this year said, Cindy, are you doing that summit again? Could I please speak? And here she is today. So Heidi is the Enterprise Account Manager, Sectors and Decarbonization for Shell, responsible for addressing individual customer decarbonization needs. That is another mouthful. How I know Heidi, actually, or a lot of us in this room know her, she was a U.S. sponsorship manager for Motorsports. And how many years did you do that, Heidi?
15.
15. So everybody knew Heidi in Motorsports. Logan Waddle. Can I say it? Can I just say it, Logan? The Bun Man. I love it. Penske Entertainment Sustainability Program Leader. He oversees sustainability initiatives at IndyCar and IMS. He's achieved a silver level certification from Council for Responsible Sport for the 2021 Indy 500. And he started at Penske in guest services. Interesting to go from guest services to sustainability.
Yeah, and I, by the way, Cindy, I have located the nearest recycling bin, so we'll connect after.
Oh, fabulous. Where is Jessica? Did you hear that? Okay, good. That's okay. She's in charge. Mary Wroten with Ford, Global Director of Sustainability and ESG. At Ford, she is responsible for identifying emerging trends in sustainability and translating into a viable regional and global operations. She oversees Ford Motor Company's annual corporate sustainability report. She developed and led Ford's award-winning $100 billion global supply chain sustainability program, and she served as Ford Safety Program Manager responsible for the vehicle safety certification on global platforms. Wow, all of you are so powerful, changing the world. Catherine, take it away.
Step one would be learning how to turn on the microphone. Thank you, Cindy. It's so nice to be here. It's really good to be back at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I am honored to be able to serve as your moderator for the next 30 minutes, and I'm excited. This is a topic that I am, well, for those that know me in the audience, know I'm a tad bit passionate about. And I will also offer, it is Green Sports Day. It is the 7th annual Green Sports Day, which is a day that was created. Yeah, let's give a round of applause for Green Sports Day, right? 7 years running strong. So it seemed really fitting to be able to sit here with this fine group of panelists to talk about sustainability in motorsports. I have been known to emphasize, whether it be to my team at work or my mini-me's at home, that you strive for progress, not perfection, and we always are stronger together. Partnerships, collaboration, I get chill bumps when I talk about that. Co-creation, we are going to be stronger together. And when we were talking through this panel, I got even more excited hearing the stories of how these individuals, these incredible humans, are bringing that to life with sustainability in motorsports. So without further ado, let's get on to some questions. And we're gonna make this fun, right? It's Green Sports Day. We're talking about sustainability. We're talking about changing the world, and we're talking about how motorsports is acting as a nexus, a demonstration platform in which we're doing that. So on that note, going with our theme, collaboration, co-creation, tell me, guys, what does that look like for you as it relates to sustainability in motorsports? Please.
Hello. So what's great about this as a theme, we are all stronger together, is how it plays out in almost everything we do, whether or not we know it. Some things more obvious than others. All of us sitting here and getting to know more closer with Mary, myself personally, I've known Heidi, as you can tell, a long time. Logan, last couple years at least, and there are a lot of things that we are doing together. And it all starts with the fact, as you've probably seen, for a lot of companies, sustainability is at the heart of the strategy for the corporations moving forward. Bridgestone, entire seem about as not sustainable as you could think of. But Bridgestone from the beginning was about giving back to society.
And I'm sure you've never heard that before.
So, never. So many times. But it's it actually is in our DNA, back to our founder. So as of today, as of the last couple of years, well, within the last year, we've come out with what we call the EA commitment. It's a global commitment. It's literally 8 words that start with an E, all related to really giving back to society, what really matters, a lot of which is sustainability based. What's terrific is motorsports for Bridgestone is actually even more and more becoming a platform for a lot of what we do is sustainability being at the lead, which is extremely important because, one, I think it's another example of backgrounds and things you can be into that relates to motorsports. Motorsports, as you've learned, is about so much more. So if sustainability is your thing, motorsports, again, is a platform for a lot of companies. Specifically, what we're doing most recently, working very closely with Shell and with Penske Entertainment. We've got relationships with Penske across all the businesses, which is very much the Penske way. Racing is a theme. And then we've got commercial business and the like, all of which is looking at sustainability. So the initiative that we did, the one I'll focus on that some of you may saw is, so during May, the pit stop competition for the 500, we debuted our alternate, what is really the alternate tire, which is a softer compound tire that we use at road and street courses versus a primary. And we have Waiuli, the G-U-A-Y-U-L-E word that looks nothing like it's pronounced, or guacamole, for those of you who would like to just go with that. It's a desert shrub, and we've been spending millions of dollars corporately, and they picked racing to be the proof point. And so we debuted Waiuli as an element in the sidewall of those tires, actually at the Nashville street race, which, if any of you watch the Nashville IndyCar street race, it's a little rough. So the idea of the sustainable product, a more sustainable thing, is not to change performance. It's 100% to keep the performance, because I'd like to say we perform pretty darn well if you've ever watched a Firestone race tire, but it's to provide sustainable material. So we debuted it, working very closely with IndyCar, and now for next year, as we evolve it, we're looking at how do we continue that and working with these folks sitting here on some possible other things for next year. So again, corporate commitment, motorsports is a proof point. And the last thing is, it also helps, again, I'm in motorsports, I've done different things, is now I'm learning about sustainability. Heidi, you just transitioned to sustainability. Again, it's another example of you just keep learning, keep raising your hand, and those new opportunities will show up.
Yeah, I felt like that last 2 sessions prior when it said transition rules, I should have been on that panel, because I'm feeling that. I am faking it till I make it right now, because I did. I spent the last 15 years in motorsports. I've been with Shell for 28 years, and so I have come in to learn all about sustainability. We do have enterprise, what we call enterprise accounts. So these are our top customers that we do business with. Bridgestone, Firestone is one of those. Penske is another one of those. Ideally, Ford will be one of those in the future. So we have projects with each of these organizations that we're currently working on. So my message to you is, in order for motorsports to survive, it must become sustainable, because we won't put our money there if it doesn't align with our purposes and what we are doing as organizations. So it's imperative to everyone in this room to care about it and find a way to support. And that's what we have tried to do as each of us, to come together, to collaborate, and to co-create. So we have got opportunities where we have kind of collaborated, but we've also co-created. So like Lisa talked about the Waiuli tire, which is super exciting. We announced at Indy 500 that we will next year, for the Indy 500, be the first North American series that will run on a 100% renewable fuel. That's super.
Heidi, you have transitioned. That statement you just made is a testament, and you are embracing, and that gave me chill bumps. But for motorsports to continue, we have to figure out how it can be sustainable.
Yeah,
well done.
It's imperative. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'll transition to Logan and let him kind of talk a little bit about.
Yeah, thanks, Heidi. When I think about collaboration in the motorsport industry, specifically, or not even specifically as it relates to sustainability, I think about the origins of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Motorsports has always been a leader in technology and the automotive, transportation industry, even the aviation industry. So when you look back to 1909 when the Indianapolis Motor Speedway was built, were they thinking about recycling and energy consumption back then? Probably not, but we have some of those same practices that we have always, we're deep rooted in on invention and transforming the industry and transforming the world. Many people know that in 1911, when Ray Haroon won the first Indianapolis 500, he invented the rear view mirror at IMS. That's a classic one. There are a lot of other examples as well, though. Mercedes developed turbocharger technology at IMS in the 1923 Indy 500 that is still used today, but even off the track, we have technology that was groundbreaking in its time. The Wright brothers, many of you know, those brothers who flew a lot. They broke an altitude record at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And then we also had drivers who invented seatbelts, and so there's all this technology and all this innovative and transformative, examples that we've had at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And I think of sustainability as another great opportunity for us to help shape the future of motorsports, but we can't do it alone. When we want to decarbonize. Luckily, we have people like Heidi and her team, because I don't know how to make 100% renewable race fuel, and I don't know how to make more sustainable race tires, and I don't know how to build EVs for our transportation solutions fleet. So it's in our roots to continue pushing down this road as an entire industry, and so that's what I think is the most exciting part about this future of sustainability. But we can't do it without each other.
Yeah, and I think just to expand, our premise with Bridgestone is that we work on things that only help us go bigger, faster. And I think that's the essence of all of these relationships, not just with Bridgestone, but when we come together, how much further we can go at a much faster pace. And I think that's important for all of us.
Yeah, and really quick as you go. So it's, as you said, Ray Haroon, Firestone Tires, and Harvey Firestone started, and again, proof point and how to make the technology relevant, and the whole idea we talk about all the time, track to road, started back then. We were on the first car that won, and we're still together, and we're still co-creating and developing and using it in that way.
So you can see how this panel's going. You can only imagine our prep phone calls. It was absolutely insane. So, and it's a pleasure to be with you all today and meet my new BFFs. So when we were talking about this panel, I was sharing how Ford Motor Company has been co-collaborating and working in sustainability for well over 100 years. I also feel like it's within our DNA. In 2019, we set 10 sustainability aspirational goals, ranging from protecting the environment to respecting human rights, all throughout not just our company, but throughout our supply chain. And one of our commitments is to be carbon neutral by 2050. And we're taking a lot of actions to reach this goal. We've electrified our most iconic products. Our Mustang is now the Mustang Mach-E, which goes from 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds.
Scary fast.
Yeah, and has anyone driven an EV? They are so much fun to drive. And I, in the intro, I can't believe I left this off my bio. I worked in racing for 2 years back in the 90s. And I do want to say how I'm looking at all these women out in the field. They were not out there with me in the 90s. It was a much different environment. And I'm really happy, and I do have a personal passion for racing, and I'm absolutely thrilled that I can work on two things that I love, which is racing as well as sustainability. Ford's developed a couple fun products in partnerships with a few racing teams. One is the Mustang EV with 1,400 horsepower. And we actually drag raced it last year, and it went on a quarter mile, 8.12 seconds, which set a track record. And that's an electric Mustang. We also have a prototype of a Mach-E, again, 1,400 horsepower. I think there's something like seven motors on the vehicle, and it goes from 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. That's like crazy fast. And we're trying to start to break down the paradigm that you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't go fast and race and be an electric vehicle. And I have to say, this is probably the most exciting time that I've been in my career where I can work on both items.
All right, are you guys ready for maybe a little bit of rapid fire questioning so that we can leave maybe 5 minutes for the audience to have Q&A? Okay, let's do it. What you're doing is hard. There are challenges and roadblocks. I mean, you are doing sustainability in motorsports when you introduce yourself as doing sustainability in motorsports, because trust me, the looks I would get for close to a decade every time I would say that is challenging. What are challenges that you've encountered when bringing sustainable solutions to motorsports? Tell me, maybe we can commiserate. Tell me about some of those.
Well, from us, I think the first thing, again, in motorsports, and especially as a tire supplier, is, again, it's going to be performance. Is it going to change performance? As it's a very specific executional example. No, it is not. And so there's like job one. you get on, it's dependable, it's safe, it's all the things we need to be, and we are. And oh, by the way, you can still go and do what you need to do on the track. So taking that more broadly, though, the key is this. We were using this actually, I don't know if you saw in like Nashville, the theme that we had, I guess, was when we focused on the Waiuli tire, and it's what got to what Heidi said. Our theme was sustaining the sport we love, nonstop. Any company, any corporation, 2050, the same goal, carbon neutral. It is the way of the world. It is that way for a good reason. And again, in our case, we're lucky that Motorsports is looked on as an extremely important platform for the company globally. So there's a lot of support. And then again, because of the collaboration with other partners, with Penske, with engine manufacturers, all have the same focus, all have the same vision, all have the same goal.
Yeah, so I think the alignment was almost the easy part for us in terms of alignment with other sponsors and race teams. Where it gets hard is some of the technology. So there are issues around mass scale in terms of being able to do it on a much larger, but it goes back to what we said as well around track to road. Motorsports was started to drive innovation, and that's what we're doing here. So we are testing, we are trying, we are pushing our products to the nth degree during these times so that we can make better products for our consumers. So I think for us, it's probably some of the technology and getting scaled up large enough to be able to get these things out faster to the general public.
Catherine, I think you kind of touched on it already, which is kind of buy-in. It's difficult with today's climate. You have a lot of greenwashing. You have a lot of companies that are coming out with these really aggressive goals and they don't know how they're going to get there, and so people assume that you're doing the same thing, and then therefore you don't have your own employees and your own staff buying in. But once they realize we're being authentic about it and we are serious about it, and we're serious about protecting the industry, we want this motorsport industry to be around for years to come, and once people realize that we're being genuine about it, it gets a lot easier.
I have often described sustainability leadership or advocates. You're scrappy, and you have to be. You're going into audiences, you are advocating. I remember when I transitioned from NASCAR to work for Mayor Bloomberg and the city, I said, guys, I have no idea about transit. Like, you realize I have not worked in this field at all. And they were like, yeah, but you did sustainability in motorsports, you'll be fine. You're scrappy. So I applaud your scrappiness.
I'm gonna add that to my resume.
Scrappy.
Definitely.
I'm going to build on the technology a little bit. From an electric vehicle perspective, the elephant in the room is charging. And fans are not going to wait, 9 minutes for a car to be charged in a pit stop. I'm a fan, and that's not something that I'm willing to wait for either. But with it being a challenge, I see it as a huge opportunity. How might we charge differently? How might maybe the charging pads are under the racetrack? How might we think about this in a much different manner and leverage the solutions that happen on the track and bring them into the solutions for everyday drivers? Because it's a question I get asked a lot. There's a lot of range anxiety out there for the everyday consumer, and how might we just take the knowledge and all these really smart racing engineers fix the charging issue? How can we then apply it to the everyday consumer so they can benefit as well?
Mary, tell me, have you thought about switching out batteries? Like, is that a contemplation when you're thinking through that roadblock, right?
There could be safety issues with switching out batteries, but everything is on the table right now. And that's the wonderful part about pivoting in a company that's been around and working in internal combustion engines to a new technology. Everything's on the table.
Well, I applaud you for the demonstration that you're putting out there for consumers to see and learn from and gain confidence in. I think that's, quite frankly, the power of motorsports. It's to be able to demonstrate and to be able to grow that confidence We saw such success, and I still see it today. All right, let's see. I think we might have time for one more question if we can go fast. What is one small thing that motorsports events could do to become more sustainable?
I'll
I
start.
almost want to say, can you do it in like one word? Ooh, you don't have to. It's okay.
I'm Italian. I can't do anything
okay.
in one word.
It's fair.
I would say zero waste to landfill. Even at today's event, I was looking around thinking to myself, well, there could have been paper cups and compostable plastic, silverware that's used. I love the fact that you have a water bottle, or I'm against plastic straws, but what if they were paper straws? So I think there's a lot raceways can do to pivot and use and have a zero waste landfill.
Mine's controversial. Controversial.
I love controversy.
2 words. Private jets.
Mic drop. Jinx.
I would say efficiencies. And I think taking a look at where you currently are, these are massive facilities using massive amounts of whether it's water or it's power. What can you do today to take a look at where that energy use is taking place?
Yeah, I think it's commitment and taking it one step at a time and just allowing it to be a process. It is, because there's so many layers and levels, and the probably main word, though, I would say is is authenticity. Greenwashing, the worst thing possible. I mean, we probably spend as much time just getting it right and making sure it's not, with third parties and like Waste Management, all the folks that our partners work with, we now work with, another example. Because, again, it all goes back to this. We all work for a lot of big, long-standing companies. Who you are at the core needs to come out and play how you approach sustainability. And if it's not, and it's not to your who you are as a company and who you want to be, forget it.
And that's part of why I threw in, progress, not perfection. I used to say if I could get 1% of however many thousands of fans to recycle a can, that's a big nugget. And that is making a difference. And I'm good with that. I can sleep at night with that. So I think it's one bite at a time. I love all of this. Okay, we have some time for Q&A from our audience. Yes, question in the back. I don't know who is going to hook her up with a microphone, but it's probably not going to be me.
Hello, it's me again. I asked a question earlier. I'm with RTR Vehicles, so I'm very familiar with the Mach-E 1400, and I have been on a ride along with Vaughn, and that is like the craziest thing I have ever experienced in my life.
I'm so jealous I haven't been in it
It's
yet.
crazy. So like my question, I guess, would be, fans are very, very critical and hesitant of like e-cars and like racing with these electric vehicles. How do you think in the future we can try to encourage that? Because like I said, that's crazy. Like being with like the Mach-E 1400, like I wish they could experience that and see how powerful they really are and that they're a force to be reckoned with. So yeah. I don't know.
I'm really glad you asked that question. So Mark Rushbrook is my colleague that I work with really closely, and he works in performance racing. And we were talking about how can we use the Mach-E 1400 as a way to get consumers or to get fans and the broader base comfortable with an EV. And use it as a tool to start education, because there's so much misinformation about EVs and so much education that needs to be done. By just bringing that product to the circuit and having people try it or experience to go on a test ride is more likely, and have the conversation around it, I think it starts breaking down some of those barriers that are out there.
Hi, my name is Esther, and I think when everyone thinks of sustainability, they immediately think of science. So my question is, how can women from a non-STEM background contribute to accelerate sustainability in motorsports? Thank you.
Girl, I am an econ major. So I'm an economics major that started in our sales side of our mobility, so our fuel stations. Worked my way up into our marketing division, was not a marketer, did not like marketing. And they said, we're getting back into NASCAR. We need somebody to do that. And I was like, I've never been to a race. I don't know anything about that. And they were like, you're perfect. And so that's how I ended up. So I would say it's all about, we've talked about all day long, raise your hand, look for the opportunities, follow the journey, because I would have never thought 2 years ago that I'd be sitting on this stage talking to you about sustainability. I mean, I'm the motorsports girl, so this is crazy. So I would have never thought I'd end up in NASCAR. I grew up in the Midwest. We didn't do that. We did IndyCar. I mean, I knew IndyCar as a kid. So be open to opportunities.
Yeah, and I'll just add to it. So I'm a geeky engineer, so I read all those articles and understand the client science and all that stuff. But what I explain to people is there's little things you can do every single day to preserve the planet. When you're brushing your teeth, shut the water off. When you walk out of a room, turn the lights off. When you're driving a car, make the decision, do you need to drive a car or can I take a bike? So there's some really small steps that you can do every day to reduce your own environmental footprint.
And I would just say be an advocate for it in your place of business. I did not come from a sustainability background. I was just the whistleblower that we didn't have recycling at IMS back in 2019. So I just became the tree hugger. I was known as the tree hugger hippie with the man bun and everything. And so, yeah, and so that's kind of how this career started for me.
I actually have to give you some insight, mainly because this is an example of, I think, why everyone is here, women supporting women. The woman that hired me at NASCAR is actually in the room, over to the right, Jennifer White, and she supported me throughout my early years in my career. Spoiler alert, I knew nothing about sustainability, had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up. Continued working at NASCAR, raised my hand when we started talking about the sustainability program and what were we doing. And then I actually just finished grad school 3 years ago. So it's never too late to go back, and it's never too late to keep learning. Every day you should be learning, so don't let it hinder you. Do we have time for maybe one more question?
We have one over here.
Quickly, I'm told. Sorry, I can't get up and give this to you.
And if anybody has it, obviously, once we're done and it's over, come find us.
Quick question. One of the things that people like about going to the events is the smell and the sound. How are you going to get that with electric vehicles?
Well, I've been to many racing events, and the sound, as I've gotten older, just kills my ears. So I think it's not going to be a one-for-one. It's just a different experience. And when I drove that Mach-E or the F-150 Lightning, which is insane, by the way, the experience was different. And I'm not saying it was better or worse. It was just a different experience. And I like the experience. I like being part of all the technology and the shift. So I think that's what I'll add there. It won't be a one-for-one. There'll be some differences. Some people might like it and some people might not. But it's just a more sustainable way of doing it, if that makes sense.
And not just be a total spoiler, we're assuming it's EV.
That's right.
I
Yep,
would
good
challenge
point.
you that
Yep.
we made a bridge with what we're doing with IndyCar. There's also hydrogen potentially down into the future. It doesn't have to be EV. That's where everybody's head is. But keep an open mind. This is the time to be inquisitive. We are asking lots and lots of questions right now what that future is going to look like.
Zero emission
that's-
technology.
yeah, so I
Zero
mean,
emissions, exactly.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, too, like you said. I mean, again, the beauty of motorsports, when we've all had individual experience over, but it's a big family. And there's all sorts of room to play at all sorts of levels with all sorts of cars. None are better, none are worse. No tracks are better or worse. And that's the great thing about this. There's tons of opportunity. It all at some level crosses over. There's some very basic things that I would say would apply the whole way across, but pick what you like, do what you like. Learn. I mean, at one level, like I'm an IndyCar, NASCAR. I'm telling you, I didn't enjoy anything more than a World of Outlaws race is unbelievably fantastic. I mean, that's the beauty of this. We can
You
take
need
it
to go
and
to
do
a
the
tractor pull.
I have been to a tractor pull. I have, and it's awesome. I mean, we have Bigfoot. We have like the huge monster. So anyway, a lot of opportunity. Raise your hand, and it's an amazing thing to be a part of.
We're all passionate. Find us afterwards. We'll all be happy to continue chatting with you. Thank you. It was an honor to
Thank you,
share the
everyone.
stage. Thank you.